He is in white hot form today, OP Bosson.
That's why he's the #1 rider.
OP Bosson.
Rider OP Bosson.
He just loves winning the Group 1s.
He took out another Group 1.
Shows little emotion.
He's one of the best in the business, is Owen Patrick Bosson, and he has the ride on the second favourite in the TV3 New Zealand Derby, and that is Mongolian Khan, a horse who comes into the race with an impeccable record of winning the Jester's Pies Salva here at this venue over 2100 metres, then the Waikato Guineas and the Avondale Guineas as well. Two key races leading into this TV3 New Zealand Derby for the weekend, and is drawn in barrier number 12 is Mongolian Khan. This horse last time to the races, as I said, and we saw winning the Avondale Guineas. We're going to take you back to the Waikato Guineas, which was 2 starts ago for when he was able to sit just in behind a couple of his main rivals, which are Giant Turtle and also Prima, who are go-forward types in the race, but he was able to stalk them here, and he's been able to go on with the job since this as well, Aidan.
Yeah, it's a very good performance, and the one thing about this run that gets me every time is this was after a break of 7 weeks. It's a 7-week break, and then he's gone over 2,000 metres, beating them up in a Group 3 staying race, which is a key Derby lead-up. Very good performance. Prima's run was good, Giant Turtle's run was good, was on pace dominated, let's not forget that. The Queen was good because Sam Collett really put the horse into the race halfway out. It was a top run, especially after coming over at the start, and then in behind them you've got runs like Margin Trader and things. But look, this is a yardstick. This is a horse who was 7 weeks without a break to do that, come off that run, wins an Avondale Guineas. It's exactly the same as Puccini last year, won both those races, and goes into the New Zealand Derby as one of the key contenders.
Yeah, look, it's a natural progression for me for this horse. You know, he's a half-brother young Centaur. He was always bred to stay. For mine, Voltstock and Barrel might be the class act. I have no doubt about it. He's a class horse. But I think they're stretching him to get to 2,400. For me, Mongolian Khan, it's a natural progression. He's always going to be a 2,000. For me, he's a Cups horse of the future.
Right, well, let's talk more about that natural progression now with co-trainer and Andrew Forsman, who's joining us from our Hamilton studios. Very good evening to you, Andrew, and we're talking about Mongolian Khan and the way that you've been able to set this horse up for this race. Certainly the way you raced through that December period, but missed out that Christmas racing at Ellerslie with the target being the Derby.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the target's been the Derby all the way through. We had a bit of a hiccup missing the race at Otaki that was called off, so went to Ellerslie just before Christmas time. He had to freshen up, and he's been a better horse since.
Andrew Aidan Rodley here. Andrew, the draw hasn't been the kindest, barrier 12. How tricky is it in your eyes?
I don't think it's a problem, to be honest. Look, he's drawn in the last couple and he's gone forward just due to lack of pace in the races. I think it's better than drawing inside of 5 or 6, because if he was a bit tardily out of the gates, you get back and you get shuffled down on the rail. You're in a bit of trouble. So I was happy that I was hoping he'd draw sort of anywhere between 6 and 10 or 10, 11, 12. It wouldn't really worry us too much.
Andrew, when did you first identify that this horse was, you know, a Derby type 3-year-old?
Right from when he had his first trial, really. Like, he was just a real loping, staying type of horse. You know, he couldn't get warm in his trials. We took him to Teco. He just got back, lobbed along, went around, took forever to pull up. Went to his first start at Te Rapa, and we thought he'd go well, but he'd need a mile before he was winning, and I think that the fact that he won that day just showed the class that he's got.
Yeah, for me, Andrew, the key about this horse for me is you've got the confidence to say to Opie, because it's a dead set, so go forward, take a sit, whatever you need to do. You can lead on this horse. For mine, he is the best stayer in the race. Do you agree?
I do agree to some extent. It's a bit hard to know with Vavasor. Look, she's a big, strong, imposing filly, and if she gets to the front and can dictate terms, she could be very hard to catch. So that depends on what she does. She's going to have to do a bit of work from a wide draw, and she's a bit of the unknown going into the race. But look, we're confident anyway in our horse and his ability to stay.
Of course, Andrew, it was 2 weeks ago where you did win the Avondale Guineas. He's a horse that is easily able to just get the work into and just get things ticking along leading up to the Derby.
Yeah, he's a colt, and that helps. I think, you know, he's a good doer, never leaves feed, just does his work, comes home, and look, he's an easy horse to train now. He's been well moulded by our staff at home. They've done a great job with him.
Well, Andrew, thanks for your time for being able to join us here on the TV3 New Zealand Derby preview show, and all the best when it comes to the weekend.
Thank you. Cheers.
So Andrew Forsman and Murray Baker do the training of Mongolian Khan. Let's get to you, Stephen Hunt, in terms of market for this horse. I mean, first of all, futures price. Where did you have him in your futures, early futures prices? And of course, as we know, he's now second favourite at $4.
He is second favourite. Probably the most notable single bet in the futures betting was 10,000 at $5 on the morning of the Avondale Guineas. So someone out there knew he was going to run one heck of a race that afternoon at Ellerslie. He came into a $3 favourite on the back of that win in the Avondale Guineas. Since then, the biggest single bet has been 2,000 at $3. Outside that, he's been a little bit cold in betting. I'm not too sure if that's the reason, because we had him favourite in front of Volkstock and Barrel, which Volkstock and Barrel has always been favourite leading into, is when we first opened the futures markets early December, right up to the afternoon, the Avondale Guineas. Look, he's my top tip in the race, in Mongolian Khan. I'd have him on top, but again, we're not here to pick winners. We're here to frame markets, and I'm pretty confident he will start second favourite come Saturday afternoon.
All right, thanks for that, Stephen. Right, let's move on now to number 3 in the book, and that is Gaultier, a horse who is a Group 1 winner, and that was 3 starts ago when this horse was an Owen maiden leading into that race at Trentham and was able to win it quite nicely as well in that particular race. But then, as we've seen from this horse, Aidan got back at Tadapa. We'll probably be able to forgive the horse on that occasion because of what happened up front, but then was a little bit closer to them in the Avondale Guineas, and he only finished into 8th position.
Yeah, it wasn't so easy to be able to forgive his Avondale Cup run, because that was Avondale Guineas run, should I say, because that was a race that did favour those on speed. This is a terrific performance. He was an outsider in this as a maiden in a Group 1, and Stevie certainly got home strongly down the outside. Siddarj was good on the inside. This is a little bit different, I think, to the quality of the Derby.
I think it's an aberration. He got back at Tirapa, you could forgive him because it seemed to be on-pace bias. The run at Avondale Guineas, there are better runs in that race for mine. I would love to know from Michael Coleman whether he'd like to be on Gaultier and whether he's committed or be on sound proposition, because it was the run for mine in the Guineas of the unplaced runners, one of the runs of the races that I looked at.
I think he'd already made his bed. He had the choice going into the Avondale Guineas, and I think the bird had flown by then. But he did convince Denisa Guy to go ahead with the Derby, so maybe some sound of confidence.
Look, it's pretty hard to turn down a horse that's given you a Group 1 as well, isn't it? So I'd say it would be the main reason behind that, with Michael Coleman taking the ride on Gaultier. Let's move on to runner number 4 in the race, and that is Twya, a runner that is trained by the Sanders Sweeney barn, and Mark Sweeney will take the ride aboard this horse. Has been a stakes winner as a 3-year-old through the early part of the spring, was about 7 lengths behind them in the Avondale Guineas, and it was one of those, it was okay to be not that far off them anyway in terms of one of the roughies in the race anyway. But
yeah, got back in a race that was dominated by those who were closer to the speed. It was very much one pace, which I guess must give them a little bit of confidence going towards the Derby, but I just don't think he's got the class to win the Steve.
A long time since the Wanganui Guineas, and I can tell you now, I've made a rule of thumb out of the Guineas run. Any horse that finished behind Margin Trader has got no one, because fair dinkum, with the run it got, it didn't deserve to finish in front of them.
Correct, yes. Margin Trader was 3 wide in the Avondale Guineas and was still able to box on. $121 shot is Twya in the TV3 New Zealand Derby. Midnitemagicman, this is runner number 5 in the book and has fared nicely in the barrier draws as well as Midnitemagicman. He finished 4th most recently, and of course that was in the Avondale Guineas, but we're going to take you back to a performance by this horse when it was on New Year's Day. Now, it's a good form reference because of the way that Chanel's been able to get home in this race, and of course Chanel's then been able to go on and win 2 races since then and is a contender for the weekend. I like this run in the Avondale Guineas as well. Midnitemagicman, is he a horse that might need that little cut in the ground as well to maybe even benefit him as well? But I think he's a stayer that can certainly run out the trip, no problem.
Really nice video to show, because look at Chanel there in the white. This is Midnitemagicman. Both of them under left-handed whip rides. Very good run from Midnitemagicman. Chanel takes ground off and really closes late. Now, what you've got to do is just assess how they've gone on with it since then. The blinkers have gone on Chanel. She's won a couple of runs and she's really progressed nicely. Midnitemagicman's probably progressed pretty well, because the 4th in the Avondale Guineas, that's a really good run. Yeah. And I think they're both chances. Who's progressed more? Well, for mine it's Chanel, but not by much.
Yeah, I like the fact, I mean, it's one of 4 Tavistocks in the Derby, which is outstanding for the sire, who really himself, I had 1 run in the Celt Capital, I think the only run he had beyond 1,600 metres. I like this with Grandam, Altristalite, won a couple of Oaks, clearly can stay. I think he's certainly got to be in the mix. I just think, as I keep coming back to, and we'll do our select, hard to go past Mongolian Khan, who finished in front of him.
Yeah, I think he's one of those horses that falls into that category. You know, there's about 4, 5, 6, 7 horses that could fill that 3rd or 4th spot, and I think he's easy in your trifectas. He's one of those horses you're going to need anyway.
He did, and just on that Evandale Guineas run, when he was just starting to make his run, he was flush 5 wide. It covered a little bit of extra ground. It probably cost him 3rd in the race. I think he probably would have beaten the stablemate had he not been pushed out that much wider on the turn. He's going well, and George Simon gives him a chance to win the Derby. Isn't that great?
Yeah, great for George Simon, and also Mary and Simon have got a share in the horse, and look forward to his call in the TV3 New Zealand Derby.
He'll be nervous, wouldn't he, eh?
Oh, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's got a Derby runner. That's what everyone strives for. And of course, Donna and Dean Logan have 2 runners in the race as well, along with the favourite Volkstock and Barrel. Let's move on to number 6 now, and it's Sealed by a Dance. This horse is the outsider in the race at $151, but it is trained by that man in Kevin Myers. Rhys Jones will take the ride aboard this horse at start number 11. Most recently finished 6th in the St. Leger Trial, and of course Kevin Myers won the Derby with Sailor Gur in 2008.
The prep run wasn't good enough, was it, in the St. Leger trial last week? Yes, it got into a little bit of pocketing, but then once there was clear air, it just wasn't able to pick up, and even in the closing stages, not able to pick up. You can't count out Kevin Myers because he'll do it to you every time. It's 1-3 of 10, and it's obviously drawn well enough to go forward and be effective, but I can't have it.
Yeah, I can't have it either. The only thing we're giving it some... I mean, Kevin Myers, here's it. You give him 30,000, say, go to the sales and buy me a Derby horse. He comes back and says, here's $3,000 back, buys 2 horses, one for 20, one for 7, and they're both in the Derby. Yeah. I mean, he's a master trainer, and you know, but you just can't have a horse with this form coming in, surely.
3 starts ago, won at Reefton. Of course, Sailor Gur won at Wairau before winning a Derby. Let's get to Sound Proposition now. Runner number 7 in the book. He's a son of Savabeel, and he's trained by the O'Sullivan Scott Barn at Wexford Stables. And this horse was, I thought, nice in the Avondale Guineas. Finishing into 6th position, he got back, he did no work in the race, and he was able to progress into it nicely. And I like what I saw after the line from him as well. He looks like a horse who can run through the line. Barrier draw is certainly a problem. He's going to have to drop back, but he's probably, as we spoke about beforehand, one of those top 4 chances.
I think the barrier draw doesn't really worry him. He's a horse who's going to go back anyhow. He was always going to be the horse who tails this field, and it's just a case of when Daniel Johnson go. The run in the Avondale Guineas was just superb because it's come around the corner 1 off, and then Michael McNabb sort of asked it something, nothing really there. Then the last 200 metres, just and just the incredible acceleration. But it's taken a long time to get to that top speed. So, when it got there, it was very fast.
I liked its win at Ellerslie before, and I like the fact they put Danielle on. I mean, Michael Mag on his way back hasn't been. I mean, she is hard fit for the big races for me, for Danielle. Good move. And as I say, I'd love to know if Michael Coleman, sitting at home now, oh, he's probably still at T Rapa, would love to be on this horse rather than Gaultier.
Yeah, look, Sound Proposition, this is one horse that I mentioned, or we had in deep discussion, Thad and I, this morning. If it had drawn a gate, we were prepared to put it in that 3rd line of betting, maybe even single figures and final field betting. But as it has turned out, he's drawn barrier 16. Look, I don't really agree with Aidan's comments about it had to drop back regardless of where it's drawn. It's drawn in the car park its last 2 starts. I was excited about it drawing a gate, possibly sitting midfield, maybe at worst. But that's irrelevant. It hasn't happened. We've had to keep it at its futures closing price of $12. The big bet we've had on it during the week was $1,000 at 12s, and I'm sure that punter would have wanted to see a better alley.
He's a smoky. He is the smoky in the race, is Sound Proposition, runner number 7 for Danielle Johnson. Okay, well, we're going to take a break here now on the TV3 New Zealand Derby preview show. Before we do so, though, it's time for Stu's Stats.
Wide draws have been successful in the New Zealand Derby. We've seen Sailor Gear win the Derby from 18, Like a Gov drew 16, Coniston Bluebird 16, Zonda 15 and Wahid 13. So wide draws can definitely win the New Zealand Derby. Trainer Mike Moroney has won 3 New Zealand Derbies with Great Command, Cut the Cake and Excellent.